Antonio didn't just miss a block. He dropped the turf untouched during a make-or-break play. For a veteran, a Pro Bowl leader of the offensive line, the moment was inexplicable until others started doing the same. Jack Conklin on the edge, missed blitz pickups and odd breakdowns in protection patterns began forming a larger, more disturbing picture. In film sessions and among former players, the whispers grew louder. What's happened to Shedeur Sanders isn't just poor play. It might be something far worse.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
This growing crisis puts the spotlight squarely on the Browns' leadership. Internal dysfunction, whispered discontent, and silent executives are turning what should be a rookie development arc into a warning sign for the entire league. Whether it's sabotage or incompetence, the Browns' inability or unwillingness to protect Sanders reveals just how far organizational politics can reach, even onto the... Let's not sugarcoat what we're seeing with the Cleveland Browns. It's not just sloppy football. It's not just growing pains from a rookie quarterback trying to find his rhythm. It's deeper, more deliberate, and way more damaging. What's happened to Shedeur Sanders is exactly what happens when a system built on favoritism and politics meets a player who was never meant to succeed there in the first place. From the very beginning, he was thrown into a situation where the odds weren't just stacked against him. They were rigged. You got a rookie quarterback with talent, presence, and pressure. That alone is enough to create tension in any NFL locker room. But when that quarterback also carries a high-profile name, a national spotlight, and a fan base already tuned in, that tension multiplies fast. And if the organization isn't built to manage it, this is what you get. Let's go back to the footage. The now viral clips that set this whole story on fire didn't just show an overwhelmed offense. They showed patterns. Repetitive, specific, damning patterns. Offensive linemen. Guys who've been in the league long enough to know better. Either outright missing assignments or just not trying. In one clip, Joe Bitonio, the so-called leader of the offensive line, drops to the ground untouched on a 4th and 1, right as the play begins. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. And these plays aren't rare. It's happening repeatedly. Missed blocks, unchallenged blitzes, concerning levels of inaction in moments that demand discipline and execution. It's not bad luck. It's not bad coaching. It's something worse, either intentional sabotage or a locker room so dysfunctional that basic effort isn't even a guarantee anymore. But here's where things get really ugly. Nobody's saying anything. No one is stepping in front of a mic to own it. No one is defending Sanders. No one is explaining these breakdowns. And that silence, that's the real story. Because when the organization refuses to speak up, when the GM won't comment, and the coaching staff avoids the topic, that's not leadership. It's self-preservation. It's an entire operation choosing to protect its own reputation rather than its own players. And in this case, that silence is leaving a rookie quarterback out to dry. Shedeur isn't being judged fairly. He's being judged through the lens of bias, politics, and ego. And the damage isn't just reputational. It's physical. He's taking unnecessary hits, playing behind a line that doesn't protect him, and carrying the weight of a team that clearly isn't unified behind him. And the craziest part? It didn't have to be this way. There's no question Shedeur has a talent. No question he can make plays. But how can any young quarterback develop under these conditions? How can anyone showcase their skills when the people around them aren't doing their jobs, and then blaming you when things go? This is where the former players come in. Guys like Lou Charles Bentley and Mitchell Schwartz have been vocal about what they're seeing, and they're not sugarcoating it either. They've pointed out what looks like internal resistance to Sanders from inside the building, that he's seen as a distraction, that he's not ready, that some in the organization simply don't want him to succeed, not because of what he's done wrong, but because of what he represents. This is about power, about culture, about control. The second a rookie enters a team with more spotlight than the veterans, it becomes a problem, not for the fans, but for the locker room politics. And when management refuses to check those politics, when they refuse to build a structure where talent gets supported regardless of perception, this is what happens. The rookie becomes a scapegoat for everything. The media narrative only fuels it. The talking heads start parroting the internal whispers. He's not focused. He's not ready for the league. Too much flash, not enough substance. But you watch the games. You've seen the clips. How many quarterbacks could thrive in an environment where they're under pressure within 2 seconds every snap, where critical protection just doesn't happen? The answer is, but still, that same standard isn't applied to other quarterbacks. Dylan Gabriel can throw ducks for weeks and still be developing. Other rookies get coddled, coached, and praised for surviving adversity. Sanders gets blamed for the adversity that's being created around him. And that disparity tells you everything you need to know. It's not about performance. It's about perception. It's about the league's resistance to players who don't play the PR game. And it's about how fast a team can turn on its own when a quarterback becomes more visible than the franchise. Let's also not overlook the Deshaun Watson angle. Whether the team wants to admit it or not, there's a huge financial and political investment in protecting their starter. And if that means downplaying Sanders' talent or slowing down his progress, so be it. That's the cost of maintaining the pecking order. But if that's the case, then be honest about it. Say you're sticking with your guy. Don't bring in a rookie with star potential and throw him into a situation designed to break him. Don't pretend there's a fair quarterback competition when there isn't one. Don't talk about development while letting your own veterans sabotage that development on national TV. And now that the footage is out, now that the takes are flying, and now that the criticism is reaching front offices, only now are reports surfacing that GM Andrew Berry is furious about the offensive line's performance, that he's confronting people behind the scenes. That changes might be too, but that's the thing, it's too late. This should have been addressed the moment the first red flag popped up, the first missed block, the first reckless hit on Sanders, the first sign that the team wasn't all in. But instead of being proactive, the Browns sat on it, let the situation boil over, and let their rookie quarterback become the face of failure in a mess he didn't create. It's not enough to react after the fact, not when your player's reputation is already taking hits and the locker room has already fractured. If Andrew Berry really wants to fix this, it's going to take more than backroom blow-ups. It's going to take public accountability, clear leadership, and a full reset of how this team treats the players it claims to be building around. And that's where this becomes bigger than just Cleveland, because this is the NFL in a nutshell. A league that claims to be about meritocracy, but time and again shows it's about politics, favoritism, and who fits the mold. A league that eats its young players the second they step outside the line, whether that line is about media attention, playing style, or the crime of being too confident too early. Shedeur Sanders walked into this league with talent and expectations. What he got was a setup. What he's been given is chaos. And unless something changes fast, this won't just be a missed opportunity for him. It'll be a massive failure for the Browns, and a black mark on how the NFL handles its most high-profile prospects. Let us know where you stand on all of it. Do you think this was sabotage? Are the Browns protecting their vets at the expense of their future? Or is this just what happens when talent threatens the wrong people? Sound off in the comments. Like the video if you're done watching teams ruin their own rookies, and hit subscribe. We got more breakdowns of the drama the league never wants to talk about. Let's get into part nobody wants to say out loud. If Shedeur Sanders didn't have a famous last name, if he wasn't already on highlight reels before his rookie season even started, none of this would be happening like this. The leash would be longer. The excuses would be flowing. The media will be talking about growth and raw potential. But instead, he's getting blamed for things that aren't even his fault. Because the moment he stepped into the league, the narrative was already written for him. Segment. SS sidelined not by his play, not by his coaches, but by everything surrounding him. From the second the Browns took him in, it felt like they weren't just drafting a quarterback. They were inheriting a PR risk, a lightning rod, a guy with attention, cameras, confidence. And for an NFL team stuck in its own identity crisis, that was apparently too much. So instead of supporting him, they decided to let him flounder. And now, everyone's pretending they're just evaluating the situation. What exactly are they evaluating? That their offensive line is letting edge rushers through like it's open mic night? That their veterans are phoning it in with zero consequences? That a rookie quarterback is being lit up on every drive with no post-game explanation from the team? Go back to that viral footage again. It's not just embarrassing. It's exposing. You don't have this many identical breakdowns across multiple games and call it coincidence. And if you still want to chalk it up to incompetence, then fine, say that. But don't sit there silently while your own player takes the fall for a dysfunction he didn't create. The Browns' silence on this is more than frustrating. It's telling. And if you watch the league long enough, you know exactly what that silence means. It means they're trying to wait it out. Let the media cycle pass. Let the noise fade. Then sweep it under the rug and move on to the next chapter, like nothing happened. But that's not going to fly this time. Because this isn't just a few bad games. This is a high-profile case of what it looks like when an NFL organization loses control, not just its roster, but of its reputation. And you know who sees that? Everyone. Young players around the league, agents, coaches, veteran analysts, future draft picks. They're all watching how the Browns are handling Shedeur Sanders, and not a single one of them is walking away impressed. This is the same organization that's burned through quarterbacks like it's part of the business model. You'd think, after all the failed experiments, the chaos, and the constant resets, they'd be desperate to build something sustainable. But instead, the moment things get uncomfortable, they fold. They clam up. They point fingers everywhere except where it actually matters. Let's talk about accountability, because there hasn't been any. You've got Joel Bitonio literally falling over untouched in a critical play. You got Jack Conklin looking lost on blitz pickups. You've got repeated breakdowns and protections that look more like misassignments than bad matchups. And not once has anyone been called out. Not once has a coach said, "That's not acceptable." Not once has the team addressed the elephant in the room. Their line looks like it's trying to prove a point. And the rookie QB is the... So here's the truth. If the Browns really believed in Shedeur Sanders, this wouldn't be happening. They'd be cleaning house. They'd be holding players accountable. They'd be defending him publicly, instead of letting the media control the story. But their silence? It's confirmation. They're either complicit in this, or they've lost control of their locker room. And if it's the second one, if the culture has rotted to the point where your veterans are undermining the guy under center, then you don't just have a quarterback problem. You have a leadership crisis. One that starts at the top and leaks into every inch of your... The Browns have long claimed they're trying to build something different, that this isn't the same old Cleveland, that they've learned from past mistakes. But this is exactly the same Cleveland, maybe worse, because now they're not just blowing up their quarterback situation. They're actively destroying the narrative around one of the most talked about prospects in the league, and doing it in broad daylight, too. And yeah, maybe Andrew Bear is finally losing it behind the scenes. Reports say he's furious, that he's going off on Lineman after watching the tape, that there might be changes coming. But the problem is, it's too late. The damage is already out there. The clips have been analyzed. The body language has been read. The fan base has seen enough. Even if you clean house now, the question remains, why didn't you act sooner? Why did it take social media outrage and national embarrassment for leadership to respond? Why wasn't the very first missed block on your rookie quarterback the moment you said, "Not on our watch"? You either protect your guy, or you don't. And the Browns, let's also be honest about how the league works. There's this unspoken rule in the NFL. Rookies with hype are a threat. If you're too visible, too confident, too backed by a story bigger than the team, you better be perfect. And if you're not, the blowback is brutal. And that's exactly what Shedeur is walking through right now. Every mistake is amplified. Every missed opportunity is twisted into a character flaw. And nobody inside the organization is doing a damn thing to stop it. This isn't just disappointing. It's exhausting, because we've seen this before. The NFL's so-called meritocracy only exists for the guys who come in quiet, humble, and invisible. The moment you bring your own spotlight, they treat it like a virus, like it needs to be neutralized. And they'll do it through whispers, through silence, or through plays that somehow go wrong over and over again. What does that teach the next generation of players? Don't stand out. Don't talk. Don't expect support. Don't bring attention unless the team gives it to you. Because if you do, you'll be left to sink, and they'll pretend they never had anything to do with it. That's the message Cleveland's sending right now. Loud and clear. And unless they reverse course, fast, that's going to be their legacy. Not just the team that failed another quarterback, but the team that let it happen on purpose. Or worse, helped it happen just to prove a point. So what now? Will they admit the issue? Will they rebuild their culture from the inside out? Will they put real protection in front of Shedeur Sanders, not just on the field, but inside the building? Or will they double down on the silence, the spin, and the excuses? Because fans aren't stupid. Players talk. Footage doesn't lie. And every snap that passes without action makes it clearer and clearer. The Browns are fumbling this again. And this time, there's no recovering the ball. Segment. SS and Browns versus Bengals match. There's something especially brutal about watching talent get wasted in plain sight. Not because it's subtle or hidden or complicated, but because it's so avoidable. And that's exactly what's happening to Shedeur Sanders right now. You're watching a quarterback with potential, with presence, with everything you should want in a franchise player, get systematically undercut by the very team that brought him in. This isn't a case of a rookie not being ready. This isn't about mechanics or reads or arm strength. It's about an environment designed to fail him. And whether it's intentional sabotage, passive aggression from the vets, or just leadership that's too scared to course correct, the result is the same. A young quarterback standing behind a line that refuses to protect him, while the organization refuses to protect his reputation. And the people watching it unfold, they're not confused. They're not fooled. They see what's happening. Because when you watch tape of offensive linemen falling over, whiffing on blocks, and giving up pressure in nearly identical ways week after week, it stops being a coincidence. You start asking the real questions, ones a Brown still won't answer. Why is the same breakdown happening in the same spot, over and over? Why are the veterans, your supposed leaders, consistently the weakest link when Sanders is on the field? Why is your coaching staff not adjusting? And why is your front office completely silent while a national conversation is erupting around your team? It's not just a personnel issue. It's a culture issue, a reflection of how this franchise operates when faced with change, when challenged by media attention, and when given an opportunity to embrace a different kind of star. Because make no mistake, Shedeur Sanders is a star, not just in name, not just in marketability, but in skill. He's got the poise, the command, the natural football intelligence. And when protected, he can play. He has played. But that part of the story keeps getting drowned out by this swirl of bad optics, miscommunication, and silent treatment from a team that's supposed to be building around him. Let's talk about the coaching staff for a second. Where are they in all this? Kevin Stefanski has stayed noticeably quiet through all of it. No statements. No public support. No accountability for the offensive line's performance. It's like the staff is pretending none of this is happening. Like they can outlast the media cycle and get back to business as usual. But there is no business as usual when you got viral clips circulating of your players collapsing on design plays. This is a business now. And pretending otherwise is just a different form of... So now it's on Andrew Berry. And according to reports, he's furious. Furious at the line. Furious at the effort. Furious that the footage made its way into national conversation and exposed the cracks everyone inside the building already knew were there. But here's the thing, anger now doesn't count for much. If he really wanted to fix this, the move should have been made weeks ago. The culture reset should have started the moment the protection broke down on that first 4th and 1. The second Batonio went down untouched. That should have been a red alert, not just for poor execution, but for intent. Because here's the reality. Whether or not this is sabotage in the literal sense, it's still sabotage in effect. If a veteran line is too prideful or too bitter to protect a rookie quarterback, and the coaching staff does nothing about it, that's sabotage. If a GM sees the film, hears the noise, and still keeps trotting the same guys out every Sunday, that's sabotage. If your organization has the tools to defend its young players and chooses not to, you've made a choice. And here's where it gets worse. This isn't just impacting Shedeur. It's sending a message to every single young player in that building. A message that says, if you come in with attention, with expectations, with any kind of spotlight, we'll let you sink before we let you shine. That's not just bad football. That's franchise rot. The Browns aren't just losing games. They're losing trust. Among fans, among agents, among players who now have to think twice about whether Cleveland is a place they can grow. Because what happens when it's their turn to start? Will the line protect them? Will the coaches back them? Or will they be left to take the hits on the field and in the press, while management sits in silence and hopes it all goes away? And this isn't unique to Cleveland, but it's being exposed in Cleveland. This is what happens when talent threatens structure, when flash threatens control, when a confident, marketable player shows up in a league that still pretends it only rewards hard work, when we all know it really rewards quiet compliance. Shedeur didn't come in asking for favors. He came in ready to compete. But what he got instead was a slow, painful unraveling of any support system he should have had in place. And every week it continues. It's more obvious that the Browns never actually prepared for him to succeed. So where does it go from here? Do they keep letting this spiral, hoping it burns itself out? Do they bench Sanders to avoid more controversy, even though he's not the one causing it? Do they make an example of a lineman or two and pretend that fixes the deeper rot? Or do they finally step up? Because fixing this isn't just about personnel changes. It's about philosophy. It's about leadership. It's about owning the fact that this team let the situation get this far, that they invited a quarterback into a locker room they hadn't prepared, that they set the stage for disaster, and then blamed the actor who didn't write the... At the end of the day, Shedeur Sanders didn't fail this franchise. This franchise failed him. And until someone in power has the courage to say that publicly, the damage will keep spreading through the locker room, through the fan base, through the next wave of players who just watch what happens when your own team decides you're the problem. And let's be honest, it's going to take a lot more than one angry meeting from Andrew Berry to undo that. So let us know. Do you think this team can turn around? Should Sanders stick it out? Or should he be looking for the next team that actually wants to build around him? Drop a comment, like the video if you're done watching teams weaponize silence, and hit subscribe if you want more breakdowns on the dysfunction no one else wants to talk about. Because if this league won't protect its players, someone's got to keep score.